Long before written history, before cities rose from the dust and kings carved their empires, humans told stories of gods who could shatter mountains, monsters that lurked in shadowy forests, and heroes whose choices could decide the fate of the world. These weren't just bedtime tales, they were our first attempts to understand the universe and ourselves. Welcome to the shadowy, mysterious world of mythology. Let's dive into where these myths came from, why they still grip us today, and what hidden truths they might reveal about the human mind. Mythology is older than writing. The earliest myths likely emerged over 10,000 years ago, whispered around campfires or etched into cave walls. Across continents, different civilizations, Sumerians in Mesopotamia, Egyptians across the Nile, Vedic cultures in India, created complex pantheons to explain life's greatest mysteries. Why do we suffer? What lies beyond death? And why does the sun rise and fall? Consider the Sumerians' epic tale of Gilgamesh. Written around 2100 BCE, it tells of a king seeking immortality, facing gods, monsters, and a flood that eerily resembles later biblical texts. Or the Egyptian myth of Osiris and Isis, a divine story of betrayal, death, and resurrection, explaining both the cycles of the Nile and the promise of life after death. If the stories of ancient kings and civilizations fascinate, check out my YouTube video on the Sumerian Kings list, link in the description. These myths weren't just for entertainment, they were survival guides, moral codes, and cultural memory wrapped in narrative form. Mythology is not about comfort. Many myths are terrifying. The Greeks had Hades, the god of the underworld, who ruled over the dead. The Norse told of Hell, a land of frost and shadows, where the dishonored departed. In Hindu myths, Kali dances with death, reminding humans that destruction is an inseparable part of life. These stories explore our darkest fears, death, chaos, and the unknown. They are suspenseful, almost cinematic, because they force us to confront the unknown. And yet, we return to them, drawn by a deep curiosity and a secret thrill of fear. Why do we enjoy these tales? Why do stories of gods and monsters still captivate us today? In movies, books, and video games. Because myths are mirrors. They reflect the struggles, desires, and fears that are fundamentally human. We see our ambitions, our morality, and our mortality writ large across the canvas of the cosmos. Different cultures, different gods, but often strikingly similar themes emerge. Creation myths, for instance, are nearly universal. In Egypt, Ra rises from the waters of Nun. In Mesopotamia, the universe emerges from the chaos of Tiamat. In Japan, Izanagi, Izanami create the islands. Humans everywhere ask, where do we come from? Heroes too follow similar arcs. A young person leaves home, faces impossible challenges, gains knowledge or power, and returns transformed. This is not coincidence, it's archetype. Carl Jung called these recurring patterns the collective unconscious, and Joseph Campbell framed them as the hero's journey. Even monsters are familiar across continents. Serpents, giants, tricksters. They are symbolic, representing nature's danger, internal fears, or social taboos. Why do myths endure? Because they are not just stories, they are lenses through which we explore reality. Science and technology may explain the world, but myths explain the meaning. They teach us about morality, consequence, courage, and hubris, and they engage our imagination in ways that facts alone cannot. Think about it. Every blockbuster film inspired by ancient myth, Thor in the Norse legend, Wonder Woman's Amazons, or Harry Potter's use of magical archetypes, taps into the same psychological structures our ancestors did. Myths are timeless because they speak to something eternal within us. At their core, myths are metaphorical maps of the human psyche. The labyrinth in Greek myth isn't just a maze, it's our mind, filled with fears and desires. The phoenix rising from the ashes isn't just a bird, it's transformation, renewal, hope. Many myths also carry a profound promise: life after death, renewal, or transcendence. In Egypt, the journey of Osiris offered hope that death was not the end, but a passage to eternal life. In Mesopotamia, the soul's journey in the underworld mirrored the cycles of nature, teaching that endings were often beginnings in disguise. These myths remind us that beyond the darkness there is light, hope, redemption, and the possibility of something greater. And perhaps the most suspenseful part, we are still living inside myths, politics, culture, even personal ambition can take on mythic proportions. Every story we tell ourselves about who we are, what is right, and what could be possible is a modern myth. And like the myths of old, these stories shape our behaviour, our society, and our dreams. The monsters have changed. Now they are corporate empires, climate crises, or the fear of anonymity in a digital world. But the stories remain, whispering in the shadows, daring us to confront them. So why do we love mythology? Because it's terrifying, illuminating, and profoundly human. It connects us to our ancestors, to each other, and to the universe. It reminds us that even in a world of reason, there is always room for mystery, suspense, and the eternal question of what comes next.